Galim buvo ir du būti, bet galbūt ne vieną, nes būtų jinai netokia statiška, čia tai viskas alright. Iki čia, autas. Taip, žiūrėk, dabar galą biškį pailgink, čiut tuščia, o pradžią pakirpk. Pradžią gali sutrumpinti.
Nu, va tiek bent jau.
Gerai.
Nes ten vis tiek biškį meluoja.
Tai meluoja, čia nieko to. O galą čiut pailgink, nes biškį kertat. Pirmoji eilė tai aš nemanau, kad, matai, aš tos filmus, kai dariau, tos, kurie yra jau padaryti, aš taigi jų nedėjau jokią lentyną ir aš nesakiau, kad niekur tu nerasi, kad aš pasakyčiau, nei vienam, nei interviu, niekur, kad aš pasakyčiau, vat, aš darau tokius filmus ir čia yra mano stilius. Tokio dalyko nebuvo. Tai jau yra sekantis procesas, kada žmonės mato ir jau sako, aha, va čia toks stilius, ar ne? Bet tai su manim tai yra, aš tai ne... Ir vienas dalykas, kad aš tai čia neprisidėjau prie šito. Aš darau taip, kaip jie keičiasi, truputėlį, po biškį, tie filmai, bet jeigu ir pasikeis smarkiai, tai vis tiek ten, manau, kad tu atpažinsi. Gal iš kitų dalykų atpažinsi. Nes kas yra svarbiausia filme, tai yra visiškai ne tai, apie ką tu sakai. Tai yra visiškai ne tas ilgas lėtas kadras, visiškai ne tas kažkoks tai labai lėtas ritmas, tai yra visai ne tas svarbiausia. Svarbiausia tai yra gyvybė tame filme. Ir ta gyvybė, dūšia, jinai negali pasikeisti. Ir į kokį tu ją apvalkalą įdėsi, vis tiek tokia bus. Tai apie ką mes kalbam, ką tu klausai, tai yra apvalkalas. Ir kaip pats savo tikslas, jisai man niekada nebuvo. It was a long time ago. I was 16 years old, and I was deep in the mountains, very far in Siberia. And I've seen there kind of some few villages with a nation of Tofalar. And I saw something which was very, very strong. There was enormous, beautiful nature and suffering people. So, and I decided that the only chance to show it is in a film way. First time when I was in group, and that part of East Siam, it was their territory of nomad life, of hunting and so on. It's one of the rather many nations in Siberia, which is a huge area, yes, and which belongs to different language groups and so on. In fact, it's Tofalar, and it's in their own language. Tofa means a man. At the same moment when I could get cameras, when I could get something, I started to organize that expedition, and we finally did it. We made a lot of work around. I mean, we were shooting in different places out of the village, in the place where they grow deers, let's say the huge amounts of deers, and then 2 weeks by deers, caravan of deers to the taiga, through the mountains, and every shoot. I mean, the nation was destroyed. It was the second time, let's say, all Tofalars you would count, which would be more or less pure, would be maybe 300. It's not a nation anymore. It's just a last drop of nation, which I think now already does not exist almost. Because all of these old men, old people are dead, and the language is forgotten. All the younger population, they were either absolutely alcoholic people, either they were trying to go to the city.
Then you decide that you want to actually try and film. You start from making photographs, or directly you look for a camera and...
No, then after that, at 19 years old, I was there already, and I shot my first film, Tofalaria. It was short documentary, and then later I came 10 years later in the same village to shoot Fewer of Us. It was already a bigger film, 35 millimeters and so on. In the film, we don't know the story of Katerina Golubeva. I mean, this young girl. We don't know how she got there, what happened before. We can imagine that something happened with her before, that she went alone to such a place and so on. So, and as far as I did not shoot that front part, yes, of that woman. So I won't tell it, because it's left for everyone to get its own story. Everything what you do, like, it should be open-hearted, and also, of course, you have to know things what you're talking about.
That you see it, and then you just directly
It's
start.
very component. It's first of all, of course, you write. Of course, you do tests. Of course, you meet people and try to find actors and locations and so on. Also, you have to know about it, and it's a very component thing. You can't tell that it's one or another or third. It's everything and so on. I work with actors like with, it's work. It's I don't know what to say because this question is very, very often, and every actor is a person. We don't do animation films. We have a deal with live people, and actors are live people, so we talk to everyone differently. You work with them differently. It very much depends on them. Because the most important thing is to direct an actor, but let him do what he can and allow him to achieve what he can achieve, not to disturb it, the first thing. Yeah, because we don't live without environment. We are not hanging in space. We live, every one of us live somewhere. We walk somewhere, we spend time somewhere. Cities, forests, fields, whatever, our houses. So always we have an environment. And of course it's important because when you do a film for a few years, you spend the work in the film, you spend a few years, and so it would be strange if, and you have a film in 1.5 hours, it would be strange if it would be just by accident, these environments and people.
Or,
yeah, it depends.
Or you don't mind?
To whom I talk. I don't mind, but of course the film must talk about with itself. Otherwise, it has no meaning to make it. And if it needs some explanations, then something is lacking. Then you didn't put in the film enough of information, or people cannot. On the other hand, to talk about the process, about whatever, and so on and so on, it depends to whom you talk. It's when you talk to someone who needs it or who wants it, like it's very students or director who wants a help or advice or something. It's one thing because you are talking about special things, it's profession and so on. To talk like
superficial.
About that, it's a lot of things. So it's a lot of talk monthly. It's like
one of the main components and is Ekaterina Globova is a great muse and something very spiritual, unearthly. And I would like to know if you remember your first meeting with her. How did you get to know her? I know it's very important for you, and I don't know if you would like to talk about it.
Of course, I remember I was looking for an actress for my first film, feature film, fiction. It's 3 days, and I was looking everywhere. So someone knew her and proposed to meet, and of course I remember that meeting. And then we started to work together. No, she was a very great actress and good actress and an interesting person. But the work with her was not so much different. I mean, I was talking to her like to someone else. I'm talking to someone else, like you do with your parents. You talk in one way. With your maybe if you have children, you talk in another way. With some I don't know policeman, you talk in the third way and whatever. So we talk to some one concrete person and we work with it also with a concrete person. It's not a chair you have to repair or something. So you react and you work. So in this case, and from this side, there was, as usual, as with all people.
I wondered about your last film, because first of all, what do you prefer, documentary or fiction? Or fiction is as well documentary for yourself?
I don't really know what is a documentary, what is fiction. I mean, it's like they have some kind of separation, these two, but it's, there is a stereotype like the documentary is what is a real thing and fiction is what is invented. I wouldn't agree with that because hundreds of thousands of documentaries are very fake and very lying, propagandic documentaries, whatever. It depends on point of view. So you never are able with your camera or with your pen or whatever create an objective world, I mean, which would be so full and so simple at the same time as how well now, let's say, we're sitting here. Everyone who comes in the same room, he sees enough different things. So the documentary, my point of view is not so easy to distinguish. And I wouldn't call it documentary. I don't know who found this word.
This term, no? This term, documentary.
And fiction, because let's say in literature it does not really exist. Documentary literature or, and literature has lived thousands of years. But here someone just told them that.
To make this separation in between.
Yeah, just someone found it like later than like 15 years ago. People found two again words like mainstream and art house, which they did not exist before, just nobody knew. So these descriptions are invented after, and like everything what people wants to classify, but for me it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't see such a big difference.
Your last film is a self-portrait in direct way, as you appear in front of the camera. At the same time, also Inna there, your daughter, that we can't not avoid thinking of Ekaterina, because they're so, their eyes, I mean, it's a fruit of your love. I wondered, how did it start? When did you think that you want to make this film?
Yeah, I cannot tell exactly when, but I know that I want to make a film like this. But also I could say that I was talking and hearing from people in many countries which don't know that Ina is my daughter, that Katya is her mother. I mean, they don't know and they don't think that they are. But
They don't even see the connection. They don't.
No, they don't know. Just
they
have this information. They don't. Just normal spectator who comes. Even if I don't appear on the scene, he doesn't maybe exactly know that I'm a director, and it doesn't matter. They accept the film and they understand or not. So that was not to make a kind of autobiographical film, not at all, or to do self-portrait. No, it was a kind. You have to say something or not. So if you can say something, you do.
Turi tokį žmogų, su kuriuo galėtum labai atvirai pasišnekėti?
Turiu, bet ne visada. Kartais galiu, kartais ne.
Sunku atvirai šnekėti.
Nu aišku, kartais atrodo, kad gali pasitikėti, po to, kad ne.
Tau tai buvo? Kad supratai, kad nebegali pasitikėti?
Nu, tiesiog, kartais jais pasitikai, po to jau kažkaip mažiau, nes...
O kodėl?
Nes žmonės keičiasi.
I wondered if through camera, in there, in your intimate space, you are able, all of you, are able to maybe express things that are usually, there is no time for it. And because you set the scene that you go to countryside, you find time to ask some questions, talk about some things, about misunderstandings.
I don't think that, that it's not like not having time. People don't like, maybe they don't want. Sometimes, what is a film?
Because it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable, maybe, yes. But they think about it somewhere, somehow. It's funny not to have time when you can spend 5 hours doing nothing, and everyone has time. Just to use time is another story. And use it for something or not.
And what about those dialogues? Those dialogues are monologues until the last part of the film. Mostly the characters are talking about their search for understanding. So how did these dialogues appear? Why do they talk about these things?
But this is I cannot answer, because why? So I would answer why not. So what do you propose? What I had to do? I had to do kind of entertainment or whatever.
No,
Or
that's
instead
not
of monologues, I had to place dialogues. I don't know what to answer.
before
No,
filming.
it's a long process itself. Every scene is difficult to prepare. The light is difficult to build, and so on. It's not we are not working with handycams. It's not a documentary, so it's not like okay, let's go and we'll see what happens. It's everyone who worked on the film and has at least a little bit of knowledge how it looks like knows that it's a lot of work to do in one close-up, even with a few hours just to build light. So.
Labas. Iš žvejybos grįžtu ir šitą pamiršau. Vieną dalyką galima prisėsti? Pamiršau, ką prašai malkų prinešti. O,
Gavai ką nors?
iš manęs toks žvejys kietas, kad tik tai, kad meškerioju. Na, reikia turėti gerą pašarą paberti. Slogą sušutau karštą, a tik tai aiškus dalykas. Nu, vakar, blemba, gerai buvau padauginęs. Tai dabar išeina pašalas. Aš tai kratas.
Tai einam, prinešk malkų.
Einam? Tuoj atsinešiu savo daiktus, žuvytės.
I don't have answers. You have to find it in the film. Everyone have to find it in the film or not. Or if you don't find, you don't find. If you find, you know it. If you don't find, you don't know, and I can't tell. Because it's the same way to ask why do you live or why you are here. Why did you didn't go to New York these days? It's the same question. I don't know. It's because.
And the music is very also present in this film and in general in your film. Violin.
No, it's not made for this film because it's created almost a century ago. So, but we used it. During editing process it's over because it's not filmed. You have to choose before. I mean, in case if it's played online, you see the player. If you don't see the player, also in some cases we choose the music much earlier than we have the image, and we have some things, and some of them we choose later. It depends what you can use. Not everything you can use from music of the world. I mean, it's might be out of the budget, or so on. So it depends. It's another process. It's a music track finding situation.
And there's a lot of scenes of nature. As you said before, nature is important for you. What meaning, or what relationship do you have with nature? And maybe
You
and what relationship I have with nature?
you live in nature. Our city is also nature, or is not? It's nature. It's created by us, by people. It's nature.
But the forest is not created by people.
Most of the forests in the world are created by people. I mean, at least in Europe. more than 85% they are reseeded. They were cut and reseeded by people. Maybe you don't know that. It's another story. We have very new, very old born, only few forests in Europe. There are rather it's reservations and so on, where the forests grow like 1,000 years ago. And we have tropical forests, which are also, but most of the forests are reseeded. They were cut and replanted by people, changed and so on.
What films inspire you, or film directors, or art, maybe painters, paintings that talk to you and maybe give you thoughts?
I don't work from inspiration of others' works, because it's a part of the inspiration is the world itself and people itself. There is no limits. There have no down, no up. It's all around. It's a lot of things which are like literature, music, paintings, films. They are my part of me, but I don't know which one, because I read from 10 years and watch so on and so on. So I don't know which part is. Everyone has, we live in our time, so we have an influence from the world we have today, and we had before, but I didn't count which one, what the percentage and so on. If you would grow in the wild forest, of course you wouldn't be another person.
And is it possible that, especially this film, becomes a device as communication device, with like a device to communicate with someone who's not there anymore? Is it a reason as well?
I think that the reason for everything what people tries to do is try to way to communicate. I mean, music, literature, films, and so on. It's a possibility to show the piece of life of some people, to show it a little bit a part of us that you could see, And also it's a way to communicate with different people all over the world, and even with a lot of dead ones which you would never meet in your life. If you have your bookshelf, you can read people who lived 500 years ago, 100 years ago, in an absolutely different kinds of places of the world. And it's very, very important, because otherwise you would have a much more narrow surroundment of your possibilities to communicate. It's a way to communicate. Music is a way to communicate, even not being able to have to make some kind of consequence. But what about is it? What about this music? It's music. So another person feels it, and it's a communication with feelings.
At the same time, it's presented towards the public. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but maybe you plan to do it as an homage for anniversary, for the time when Katerina went away from this world to another. It's your gift towards her.
I would not like to talk about it.
Sorry. And what about presenting this film in public? How do you feel? Do you stay in the cinema to watch it again, or you don't like to see your films?
No, I never stay in cinema, because I've seen this film thousands of times, so it's enough. Until it's ended, you have editing process, you have first of all filming process, editing process, sound process, finally color grading process. You see thousands of times, so why you should stay? Мне не нравится вот эта, которая первая звучит, потому что это как бы такая якобы имитация, ну такое, ну создающее напряжение там, или чего, но она не успевает сработать, во-первых, потому что она не звучит постоянно, такого типа она должна звучать, ну, тихо гудеть, иногда там тревожная, там так далее, там вся целая история, и тогда пишется. А та, которая прозвучит так вот, да, то она как-то иллюстративная, и поэтому она мне это просто mešает. Yra tokių vietų, kurios aš niekaip neįvardinsiu, nes net ir nenoriu to daryti. Dėl tos priežasties, kad jos man yra svarbios, jos perteikia tai, ko aš negaliu kitaip pasakyti.
And after it's done, do you feel that maybe, possibly, you could have changed something?
Normally not, because that, especially at that time, I wouldn't be able, because I tried to do everything what is possible, and if I can change, I change. And I don't let the film go. If it's still, I feel that it's something is possible to change, I do something else. I always try to do, and I can postpone the coming out of the film for 1 year and do more, and throw material, shoot again, and so on and so on. It's maybe sometimes very difficult, but it happens. And after this, I really cannot change anything.
And do you like to write your thoughts, or you prefer not to put it on paper?
It depends. Sometimes I write, sometimes not. Depends.
How do you feel about you are a teacher and you give masterclass to filmmakers? Do you think it's possible to teach cinema?
No, to teach anything not without doing is impossible. Not even cinema.
Theory, you know?
Just to make a chair, you cannot teach by talking about it. You have to put some wood, and someone has to start doing it and make mistakes and learn from mistakes. Another thing is that in many cases you can advise things when people know what they want to ask and what they want to. Then there is a possibility. It's a kind of just an additional thing when you can help someone. It's not, but to learn not without doing it's impossible. Because there are many schools in the world where students more talk about work, but not work, not do themselves something. And in this case, it's absolutely doesn't make sense.
And did you study film?
Huh?
Did you study film? Did you go to...
I went to this film school because I had no choices, because at that time it was Soviet Union, it was forbidden to make any kind of films without having special education. But I needed to go there. But I learned from doing, and before that.
Did you felt restrained during your process of studies in...
I didn't. I was working during my studies. I went to first film, 40-minute film, in a memory day gone by. Then later, afterwards, immediately I started to shoot 3 days, so I was not sitting there and listening, talking.
And now, are you also working on some other films or other projects?
I work on a few projects, but normally I don't talk about it before it's finished.
You don't like to talk about...
No, I never did that. I never did.
When an idea comes towards you and you think that you want to make a film about it, how does this mind process works? Mental process?
Mind process, it has a name, mind process, so it's difficult to describe it because it has many things in one and so on. So it's, you mean when I start the film, start to look for people, we start to look all around, because in the beginning you have all the world, you can shoot the film wherever you want, with whatever you want, yes. You have to choose, because you can't shoot everything, you have to choose something. So you start looking for actors, you have to know who and where will happen. With whom and where it would happen. So you need people, you need locations, you need kind of basis of the story. So it goes in parallel. You can work like a director or someone, but you can just stay there and get a material which is not yours. It just happened because someone was trying to let camera go. And that's it. And in fact, you can edit the film from anything. You can take your phone, shoot 10 hours, and then alright, we can make the film. Put music, throw away what is worse, leave what is better, and that's it. But it's not what someone is designed to do, and someone is imagining. It's a different story. It's like you would go for fishing, and by the way you can find fish, so you get a mushroom and you come back. But it's like a war, it's like a fight for the result.
The way you create the film, if you do right or you don't, you have it clear in your mind. That's what I meant.
No, I write. Usually I write. I don't know in which stage, but I write. Yes.
And who would you consider your teachers?
I don't know.
You don't.
I was studying by myself. Very difficult, long. Learning from my mistakes. I don't really know.
Do you find it difficult to find financiation for films, or before it was more difficult?
I did already like almost 10 films, so everyone has its own story about financing. For ones there was not difficult to find the financing, for others were very difficult, and so on. So every film all over the world, not mine, everyone, it has its own financing story.
Do you like to watch other films? To go to cinema?
It depends, yes, sometimes yes. Not so much, because it not always fits the place and possibility and time and so on. It's not, but sometimes yes.
Cinema and television, do you prefer your films to be seen in cinema, or you don't mind where they are seen?
Normally they are for big screen, but that's what I do, and then later how they show it, it's another story. They are listed in DVDs, they are on internet, they are shown on TV, you cannot, but like how we compose normally, it's about big screen.
And do you have a preference? You prefer to speak more Lithuanian than Russian? Or it doesn't matter for you as you grew up kind of in Soviet Union atmosphere?
It doesn't have connection to Soviet Union atmosphere and language, I don't understand. Because I spoke a little bit when I was 19 in Russian. Now I'm bilingual in Russian, yeah, because I lived there and traveled and worked in Russia a lot and so on. So for me to speak English, Russian or Lithuanian, there is no difference, because I start to think in one and another language.
So you do think in both?
Yes.
And do you write?
But it didn't happen because of Soviet, because Lithuania has its own language. So we had to know a little bit of it, but if you don't go to Russia, or you don't have friends, Russian friends, or you don't have, you speak just a little.
It's already to conclude the interview about the retrospective in Pompidou, your retrospective, and the book that was published by Robert Bonamy. If you could tell us about it. It
was nice retrospective. It was a nice event. Rather big, with many different things and so on. So it was nice, interesting, and good. That's what I can say.
And about the book?
I didn't go. I mean, I didn't do the book.
Yes, I know.
You did the book. I don't know.
Okay, you don't know. So, thank you, and I wondered, are you disturbed a bit to talk about this film? Just
No.
wondered, you feel a bit kind of distant or...
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope I didn't disturb you too much. Thank you.
Thank you.